Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Now, it is a windy night tonight. If you guys hear wind, that's what it is. For some reason, the wind is very dramatic and very like horror movie-ish, which I guess in a way we are watching a horror movie because we're going to be watching Aubrey. So buckle up, Buttercup. Let's go. I'm a little nervous. We're going to do this.
Listicles about like everything every celebrity has said about Ozempic. This is not going to be that. Like, I don't care what every celebrity has said about Ozempic.
I read a couple of those in advance of this. I was like, oh shit. I have not been paying attention to the celebrity side of this. So I should like look into the celebrity side of it. And what came up was like page after page after page of these listicles of just like Gabrielle Union being like, I don't take it. And then Sharon Osbourne being like, I took it too much. And then like Mark Wahlberg being like, it's fine, but get in the gym. And you're like, so everyone's just saying the thing that they always say? Okay, got it.
I'm glad Mark Wahlberg's position on Ozempic has been clarified. The episode is over. Roll the credits.
It would have been confusing. You would have been like, wait a minute, does he think you should get in the gym or not?
It is a pretty well understood and
I think it's an ad. Hold on, you guys. Hold on, y'all. I'm not going to play this for you. One sec. Okay, we're back. Let's go.
So, just a couple months ago, in April, Lana Del Rey headlined Coachella. She wore this like beautiful sequin blue dress.
People talked about it. I remember. Eric told me about it. I'll always get that news from Eric. That people were like, whoa, because she was really big last year.
On a motorcycle, which was so fucking cunt. She played this like iconic greatest hits performance. Billie Eilish had a cameo. It went totally viral a million times over. She sounded great. She looked beautiful. Almost all of the discourse around this performance was about her weight. Lana Del Rey, like any woman who's been in the public eye for more than a few years, which she has been for over a decade now, her body has changed a number of times. There is always attention drawn.
Yeah, like I said in the previous episode, I think with Lana there could be some other stuff going on, which I don't know. I don't think it's always good. It's not always a wholesome thing. Like, I think when people fluctuate that dramatically, it's not like, oh, this is just a natural fluctuation. Like, no, there's something going on, in my opinion.
To that and whatever. The point is, she came out at this performance and she was thinner than she has been in previous years, looked similar to how she did when she came into the public when she was in her early 20s, whatever. Who cares? A lot of people. There were immediately all of these tweets, which, I don't know, this probably surprises nobody who's been on the internet.
Okay, so I don't understand. There's a very, very weird obsession that fat acceptance has, which I'm going to have to put him in that category. I do think he's a fat acceptance person, which is disgusting considering, you know, the physical shape he's in and all that. I'm not going to go too deep on it. I know a lot of you guys like him. I'm just saying he is fat acceptance, and that aspect of him is disgusting. I just have to say it. So what I'm going to say in terms of fat acceptance, they have a real issue with people caring about the fact that somebody lost weight or people noticing the fact that somebody lost weight. I don't know what it is about it. I'm not 100%. If you guys have any theories as to why you think they get so upset about this, but I've seen it so many times. And I think when he just said it that way, it just like, I had like a flash in my brain of like tons of content. And I'm like, they've all said this. This is such a thing. They're really, really upset if people notice noticeable weight loss. I wonder why.
Ever. But there were immediately all these tweets who were like, this is a quote from one particularly viral tweet. Lana is skinny again. We are so back.
That's a normal amount of pressure to put on the appearance of one person's body.
And there were also just a lot of commentary of like
People were just happy. I hope that it was done healthfully. I think it probably was relatively healthfully. Like I said, it didn't seem like it was super fast. I didn't think of it as like, whoa, you know, like, because to me, she was bigger, but she wasn't like massive where that would have been too much in a year. I think it was probably fine. Honestly, that's my opinion. But Lana, you know, as I said, she's gone up and down a lot and drastically. And this last one, it was a very drastic one, you know, where she was looking honestly kind of morbidly obese, if I'm honest. And then she probably turned it around, which I do think a lot of people do that because morbid obesity is a commitment, y'all. Most people don't stay in it because it's a very uncomfortable place to be. There are people who do, obviously, but I would say most don't. Most are going to either eat past it and get to SMO, or they're going to pivot. You kind of do the pivot. I see a lot of people do the pivot. Like my friend Eric, he did the pivot. I think Michelle McDaniel as well. She might have been approaching morbid. She did the pivot. Like that's common too because it's a commitment. When you're going to be morbidly obese and beyond, you really feel like crap. And so I wonder if that's what happened to Lana, where she just was like, oh my gosh, and she just felt horrible. So she turned it around. And she might stop if she was having, like I said, I suspect any toxic ritualistic things going on, maybe it's over now. And I would be hopeful that it is. And a lot of people do age out of it anyways. So I don't think she had like a super severe case. In my opinion, this is just guesstimations here, just from what I've observed. But like I told you guys, when you're gaining and losing over and over again, that's not a good sign. So, but it was probably more mild. But yeah, I'm more optimistic about her, honestly. I just see it optimistically. Basically, I didn't have any other feelings about it. It was just like, oh, okay, she turned it around. That was basically all I thought. But here we go. Let's see what they have to say.
she looks great again. You know, Lana looks beautiful again. And it's like, okay, Lana Del Rey has looked the same the whole time. The one variable here is her weight. So it's like, what are we talking about really?
Okay, Lana Del Rey has also gotten a lot of surgeries. Like, I'm not trying to shade. I do like Lana. I'm not trying to shade anybody. But let's be real. She has looked different throughout her career. She's looked different in a lot of different ways. She has a particular look. I think she's beautiful. I do. I'm happy with where she's at as far as her looks and all that. I think it's great. But she has definitely changed in other ways. I'm not trying to shade, but at least in my opinion, she's definitely had surgeries. So let's just be real. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the degree to which and the readiness with which people tell on themselves around weight loss stuff is really through the roof, where you're like, yeah, there's one
Tell on themselves? That's an interesting way to put it.
difference. We can all see the one difference. This is not sort of like you're not covering your ass the way that you think you might be covering your ass.
The conversation though, immediately, as with any celebrity weight loss over the last like 2 years has been, it immediately becomes like, well, is she or isn't she on Ozempic? And it becomes this like really weird.
I mean, people wonder. I think people wonder because they just, it's interesting. It's like an insatiable question. Like I found myself questioning it as I sometimes watch General Hospital, which is like a soap opera. I watch it with my mom sometimes, and Kristen Storm, she lost a lot of weight suddenly, or not suddenly, but quickly. And she was kind of like, she had like a weight gain era, but she had a baby and all that. So there's just a lot going on. I don't necessarily think it was anything bad like that. I think it was more, with my armchair diagnosis, I think it was more hypo-related and postpartum related for her because she had a baby and stuff. And so she had mega moon. I used to talk about how moony her face was. But she lost the weight, and I questioned if she did Ozempic. And my mom said she thought she did because it was fast. Because I feel like if it's really fast, then people start to wonder. But also, like, if you're in an industry like that, it's more likely. I don't think it's good to like assume or like really question every single person that's just out in the world like that, because typically people don't take Ozempic. But I do wonder about, like, I think within the celebrity world, I think there is reasonable assumptions made, if that makes any sense. So it's interesting. It's also just an interesting topic. Like, it's just something people talk about because it's easy to talk about and it's like interesting. People are like, I wonder, because people wonder things a lot. People love to speculate. It's a part of life. It's not a big deal, but to them it is a bigger deal than anything else for some reason.
Weird witch hunt that we've all seen. If you're listening to this podcast, you've seen this play
A
out in
witch
some.
hunt. Like, that is very, very dramatic. Super, super dramatic characterization of what is happening. It's really just wondering and speculation. That's all. It's not a witch hunt. Nobody's coming. I mean, I'm not going to say nobody, but most people are not out here coming for Lana Del Rey because she lost weight, possibly with Ozempic. People are not viewing it in an aggressive way, typically. I don't think. I don't think so. I think it's more of just an interesting thing of like, do you think she used Ozempic? I don't know. She probably did. They all do. Or no, I don't think so. You know, whatever. To me, I don't know. It was slow enough, in my opinion, that I wouldn't assume it right away. But considering she's had plenty of other interventions, I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of them. You know, I know Lana is, at the very least, does a lot of cosmetic procedures. So I would not be surprised with her specifically if she used Ozempic. So, like I said, I think if she did, she used it as healthfully as possible. And so it wasn't like, she doesn't have the more of the side effects of like a harsh use of it, in my opinion. So, or maybe she had other work done at the same time. I don't know. But see, that's all speculation, right? It's just speculative. It's interesting. I think regardless of anything, whatever eating issues she had, they're having to be resolved, in my opinion. Okay.
Some way or another, whether it's with friends in real life or on Twitter or Instagram in the comments, everybody's talking about, well, is she on Ozempic? And da-da-da. As this discourse is happening around her body for no reason, Lana Del Rey posts.
No reason. It's a dramatic weight loss. It's a big change. It's a shift. To my knowledge, it was like her first time coming out like that and performing when she had shifted. So I don't think it's for no reason. I think that that's a weird characterization of it.
Like a photo dump on Instagram, as the kids say. She posts a bunch of unrelated pictures. And one of those pictures is a selfie where she's wearing a sweatshirt and it has the Dog Pound logo on it. Dog Pound is like, it's just a workout class, basically. It's like a chain of workout, like luxury workout classes. The fact that she was wearing a sweatshirt with the workout class logo on it sparked discourse of its own that then like people online and also like people were writing articles like, Lana Del Rey clarifies how she lost all that weight.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
She lost weight with Taylor? Hold up. Sorry, I had a gay moment. I need to see that.
That then like people online and also like people were writing articles like Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey finally reveals how she lost weight with some help from her BFF Taylor Swift. Okay, and fans suggested the user had been using a weight loss drug. Taylor Swift helped her? What? What in the world? Sorry, Taylor Swift. Look, I criticized Taylor before. I'm going to again. She's too involved in too many things. She needs to chill. Because she was like all up in that divorce with Joe Jonas. And like that was her ex. And she was with his ex. And I'm just like, girl, now she's involved with this. She's like she is Slender Man. She is the actual Slender Man. She's always there. Taylor's always there in the background. Gosh.
It clarifies how she lost all that weight.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I want to send you a tweet.
I just opened another thing that I thought was you, and it's not. It's an ad for flavored oxygen.
Okay.
Not me, but we could talk about that in the next episode.
It's apparently it's pink grapefruit flavored. I am looking at what appears to be an Instagram post from Lana Del Rey's Instagram account, and her torso in a sweatshirt that says Dog Pound on it. Just an aggressively normal outfit that anyone might throw on any given day. Along with that picture, there's a tweet that says, "She's shutting down the Ozempic allegations. She said, no, bitch, I did that." And then there are 3 flexing emojis.
To me, I'm like 50-50 on it. You know, I believe she worked out. I'm sure. I don't think it's that big of a deal to flex that you work out. I just don't. Why is that a big deal? I don't understand. Like, am I losing touch? Or I don't think I was ever there. I was never really fully in fat acceptance, but I never was. I don't even think in my toxic ritualistic past I was ever like, wow, this person's going to the gym. Oh my gosh. Like, I can't think I ever had a thought like that. I think most of the time I would just think like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. Ugh. You know, or like, oh, I can't imagine going to the gym. Or, oh, I'd be too nervous to go to the gym. Just things like that. But it's like, who cares that she went to the gym? That is so like blasé to me. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. Maybe it would have bothered me. See, sometimes I wish I could like ask 20-year-old Alex and be like, does this bother you? Does this bother you that this woman that you don't know exists yet, that she's wearing like this freaking gym thing? Would that bother you? I can't really do that. And like I said, the hardware has broken down. The toxic ritualistic hardware in my brain is very like, it's kind of like faded. Or it's breaking down, and the software is just so out of date at this point. I don't even know what I would think. I guess you guys can let me know on your end, because I don't know. That's so far from like a normal reaction, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm tired.
What's your reaction to this?
Well, this isn't a person shutting down anything. It's a person wearing a shirt. We're in this really weird sort of moment where it feels like people are watching celebrities like Instagram posts, and they're watching tabloid coverage like they're watching like, I don't know what, Stranger Things, and they're looking for like Easter eggs or something, where they're like, someone must have planted something in here for me to find that will unlock the whole mystery. And I'm like, no, Lana Del Rey is a human person.
Look, it's probably Swifties, because Taylor Swift actually does do that, and there are people who actually do that, but especially Taylor does it. She does. She's known for doing it. So if it's Swiftie crossover, it's not like a random trend. I know exactly where it comes from. Just saying.
Who hasn't answered a question because you haven't asked it of her. Maybe if you had a direct conversation, you could get things sorted out. And also, don't have a fucking direct conversation. Her body just is what it is. Leave people alone. This is an intense amount of pressure to put on one person's appearance, outfit choices, all of that sort of stuff.
Okay. I think if we're talking about like, oh, this is such an intense pressure, sure, I guess, but that's a part of celebrity, and that's not a good thing in my opinion, but it is a reality of it. There's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be people that have opinions. There's going to be people that are doing stuff like that. If we're talking about a random person, a lay person in life, I don't see how there would be anything wrong with asking whatsoever. The only reason why it's an issue for Lana is if she's getting like 5 bajillion questions about it every single day. That could be a lot. But the average person, if you get one question every once in a while, who cares? It's not a big deal. It's just a topic. It's just another conversation. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. It really shouldn't.
What do you make of this like congratulatory tone though, because the idea, and I'm sure you've seen this with like a bunch of celebrity Ozempic discourse maybe, is that there's this idea of like beating the Ozempic allegations because you did it the real way.
Yeah, it's the same reason that The Biggest Loser became a big hit for such a long time.
Oh my
right?
God, you're literally beating me at my own outline. I have.
Oh no, is it in your outline?
It is in my Aubrey. You're so intuitive. Go.
Oh my gosh. Intuitive, or is she predictable?
The distinguishing characteristic between losing weight, quote unquote, the right way and losing weight, quote unquote, the wrong way is just how much do people see you suffering?
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally the only distinguishing characteristic.
Okay, I disagree with this. Right way versus wrong way. Right way would be not using any toxic ritualistic behaviors to get there. That would definitely be a right way. Wrong way would be doing that. Duh. For one. For two, a right way would be doing it as healthfully as possible or trying to get the best result you could possibly get. So considering things like body composition. So like I will constantly say the right way to lose weight is also with exercise and with weight training. I will say that, and people get triggered for some reason. They do, but I will still say it because I'm problematic, I guess. Or the wrong way, doing it completely sedentary and, you know, losing a lot of muscle along the same way. You're going to have a different result. It's not going to be as healthful. If you don't have as much muscle, you can really, really easily gain the weight back on a physical level. And hormonally, muscle is protective against weight gain as well because it does affect your hormone profile in a positive way. It gives you a more youthful hormone profile, which will help you stay in shape after working so hard to get there. Duh. The other things would be, I think it would be mostly those. But really about, like, the right way is the healthy way, if that makes sense. That's the right way.
And people get very resentful of the idea that anyone, but particularly fat people, could become thin or could lose weight, or frankly, could not lose weight and could not become thin, and could do all of that without performing for thin people. And that is like a thing that people who are not fat are used to, is being sort of the audience for a performance from fatter people and thinner people alike about how our bodies came to be, about how much suffering.
That has to do with if you're very, very big. Otherwise, you're not noticeable. You enter the deaf era, and then you're not noticeable anymore. So that's not always true. I get what she's saying, but that's for like a super morbidly obese, very, very big person, which I had that effect. And then I was, you know, more mid-fat and I wasn't noticed anymore. So it just depends, honestly.
And work went into.
Because as a small fat now, I'm more visible than I was when I was mid-fat. I was basically invisible, even on YouTube. It was like it's very hard to brand yourself. It's very hard. It's difficult. So I don't agree with her. Like, there is like an invisible zone too, which she should know. She probably lived through it. I lived through it multiple times. She should know. That's even a stereotype or like a trope that fat people are invisible. It's a certain level of fatness where you're invisible. So not always true, Aubrey.
Do it. We wait for a bunch of beats around people's Protestant work ethic. We wait for a bunch of beats around people's sort of like wearing a hair shirt, right? And suffering for their weight loss. And
I do think that has to do with the Biggest Loser effect and kind of that normalization of like weight loss should be the most painful thing possible, which I've always, especially within super morbid obesity, advocated against. You want your weight loss to be the least stressful possible because your body is already so stressed all the time. Now that does change later in the journey, especially when you're like my friend Eric, who's trying to get abs and whatever, you know, he has to work out a lot and he has to really put in a lot of effort to lose weight at, you know, a relatively, or I would say not even at a relatively, but at a lean starting point. You know, I think he's trying to go, at this point, he's like around 190. He's trying to get to 180 at 6 feet tall. And he has a lot of muscle. So that's kind of what he's trying to do. That's difficult. Like, you got to work really, really hard and have kind of those biggest loser moments, you know, so to speak. But when you're super morbidly obese, I don't think it's helpful. I think it actually really, it puts so much stress on your body and your thyroid and your hormones. And I always say, like, when you're super morbidly obese, you're already prone, you basically already are hypothyroid, unless if you're very young. And then you'll become it as you get older, because the amount of estrogen in your body, it gives you hypothyroid symptoms, because estrogen, fat produces estrogen. There's just so much of it circling around. Estrogen opposes thyroid hormone. So you will have hypothyroid issues if you're super morbidly obese for an extended period of time. Honestly, basically, period. And you have to lose the weight. You have to completely get out of it. But in terms of really hitting the gym hard, doing all the stuff, crying and like gasping for breath and doing all those things, it's very difficult for your thyroid. It puts you more in an adrenal state, which you already are in that when you're super morbidly obese usually. And so it makes it so much more likely that you're going to gain the weight back on a physical level. Because if you're super, super adrenal, it can cause those blood sugar issues and insulin resistance and these kinds of things. And it becomes much easier to put weight back on, and you're likely to be hungrier. So please, just, if you're super morbidly obese and you're trying to lose weight, just go to the gym and just lift weights, you know, slowly. Just don't be gasping for breath. Just lift the weights, just move. Like, that's enough. When you're really big, you don't have to do that much to lose. You just want to engage muscles, and you want to, you know, feel a bit sore after, and just kind of like make sure that those muscle fibers are firing so that you're retaining it. And even you can grow muscle when you're super morbidly obese and you're losing weight, because your body has so much excess fuel to run on. You can gain a lot of muscle too, especially if you're atrophied. So I would always suggest to lift weights if you're losing weight as a super morbidly obese person, but do not have your breath gasp. And that's the same for cardio. Please don't do the Stairmaster if you're super morbidly obese. It's too much. It's too harsh, you know? And I'm going to have to look at my workout routine when I'm no longer obese, because that may be when I need to get on a Stairmaster, or when I need to start taking it to another level. But I'm not there yet. And, you know, gosh, sorry, the Stairmaster is so tough. But I'm not there. But I'm just saying I might get there. I probably will get there next year. I probably will be at least looking at a Stairmaster towards April. It's very likely. So it's like, take it as you go. And yes, there is going to be a time where you need to challenge yourself further. You're always growing and challenging yourself further as you're losing from a very big size. But yeah, you don't have to be in pain to lose like that. You don't have to be screaming and crying and all that crap. You just don't. So I agree with her in that sense, that is an expectation because of the Biggest Loser effect, but it's not like actually a requirement to lose weight. So if people are telling you that, you don't need to listen to that. You just need to be active. So walking and weightlifting are enough. They just are. That's fine. And like I always say, you can pick it up, you can drop it off. Like, you can lift weights for 2 or 3 months and then stop if you're too sick or too tired. You can do that. It's okay. It all counts. It counts. You know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is when you're super morbidly obese, how unhealthy you actually are. I remember. I do. I have it documented on the channel. I remember. So I will say, like, don't think about it so black and white. If you can do it for a month, then do it for a month. And then if you can't, then go ahead and rest and then go back and do it again. That's fine. Okay, let's continue.
And if that doesn't happen, we treat it like it doesn't count, right? Because in our sort of cultural imagination, weight loss isn't a measure of what your body looks like or how much it weighs. It's a measure of how tenacious are you? Is your work ethic what we think it ought to be? All of that sort of stuff. We're constantly sort of heaping character judgments onto.
I think that can be the case. I do think that that can be. I think that some of it is valid. I think I talk about a lot how if you are super morbidly obese, you have to develop grit to get out. So if I saw somebody and they were smo and they lost weight or they lost the weight, I would think that person has grit. That person does have tenacity and grit because it takes that to get out. That's just a fact. But if somebody, maybe lost a little bit less, maybe not so much, right? Maybe it's just some casual shifts. It's not that hard. Like being obese now, I see how easy it is. It's so much easier than when I was super morbidly obese. Like, it's just so much easier. It's not even funny. And even morbid obesity was so much easier to get through. So I would view it differently based on my experience of the different phases. I wouldn't necessarily assume like all these amazing traits as somebody went from being obese to average or whatever, obese to overweight. I wouldn't think that necessarily. I'd just be like, okay, like they're just kind of living in, if they did it healthfully, they're just living in reality. They're able to count calories or, have a certain type of food that their calories go down enough to where they can sustainably lose weight and they're not too lazy to go to the gym maybe, or they're not too, that kind of thing. That's all it would be. Or they put time towards it. They prioritized it. I'd say, oh, they probably prioritized it, that kind of thing. But it wouldn't be like if I see somebody that lost 200 pounds, I'd be like, that person has grit. That person's tenacious. I know. You see what I'm saying? So I would view it differently in different circumstances, but it doesn't mean I view somebody negatively because they lost less weight. I don't. No, that being said, I think if you have abs or like you're really, really fit, or you're doing all that type of stuff, I do think that takes a lot of work. For sure. So I understand why people are like, oh, wow, because I can see how much work it takes. And what, hearing about Eric's journey, it's tough. It's very tough. So he's working very hard towards that. And so I understand and I can respect that. I'd be like, that person's dedicated. That person is a hard worker to have abs. Essentially, in my opinion. And maybe there will be some people that could have abs or whatever. But I'm talking about if you've lost weight to get abs. I'm talking about it very specifically, not like you're just 16 years old and you just have abs because you never were fat. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay? Gosh, so many qualifiers. Jeez. Okay, let's continue.
Just looking at someone else's body, and when we don't see that person ordering salads, apologizing for what they're eating, constantly working out to the point of physical exhaustion or collapse, we assume that they have sort of skirted their responsibility to torture themselves on.
Okay, honestly, Ozempic, especially when used for weight loss, it can be torturous. There's tough side effects to it. Weight loss surgery is the same. It's tough. I would say in some ways losing weight naturally is actually easier because there's a lot of things I haven't had to go through. There's some things that are similar, but some things that aren't, So I think it depends on your perspective for sure. And I never would say, oh, somebody who got surgery or somebody who's doing Ozempic, they're doing it the easy way. No, it doesn't exist. There is no easy way. Like when you're really big like that, there's no easy way to get out. It's going to be tough no matter what you're using. People just use different paths for different reasons. You guys know my stance. I'm definitely more of a, I think natural's better type of person. But it's more so just because it sets you up to have a better result, and it sets you up to have more longevity in it. You know, like for example, I don't have to consider, well, what if I get off of Ozempic? Then what? I don't have to consider that. It's a wall that I don't have. So, and it's the same thing with surgery. There's certain things I don't have to worry about because I didn't get the surgery. Does that make sense? So, you know, I'm not against somebody that has other or does other interventions. I don't think that they're a worse person or whatever. I don't judge it morally. I judge it more so like functionally. If you get this other step done, or if you take this medication and you're using this primarily for weight loss, you're going to have to make more considerations than I do. I don't have to. As somebody who is losing the weight naturally, I don't have to consider getting off of Ozempic, or nor do I have to go through a surgical recovery process, a special diet to deal with that, you know, all that kind of stuff. I don't have to do that either. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, that's all. It's not like, oh, you're a bad person. I don't view it that way. I think that that's crazy to be making those kinds of judgments. I look at it more in terms of functionality and what has to be considered. And I'm grateful that I don't have to consider certain things, because it's difficult no matter what. No matter what you do, it's difficult. And I have respect for anybody that uses, basically, for people who use those methods, I have just as much respect. I think it's just as much tenacity and grit. It's tough. It is hard no matter what. And I know it. I feel it in my bones. I know it. So there is no easy way out or whatever. Don't think of it that way. I would never think of it that way. Okay.
Some level for other folks' benefit.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what I wrote down. So fuck me. But it's like the moralizing of suffering itself. It's the no pain, no gain mentality, which, yeah, I've talked about it in different episodes of this podcast, of like queer people's anger towards other queer people about like having easier coming out processes and whatever. And, you know, in this case, it's like,
there's not really a connection. I'm just going to say that. I don't know what is with podcasts or like fat acceptance or, you know, these types of conversations. They are obsessed with making connections to fatness that don't exist. They're absolutely obsessed with it. Like, truly. It drives me nuts because it's not similar at all.
well, did you lose weight, you know, by suffering for it, or did you lose weight by an injection that your doctor gave you? And it's just like,
It's not easy to get, and it isn't easier to have an injection. It's still suffering. It's a different kind of suffering. It's different. It's still hard. It's totally different. There is no magical weight loss moment where you just like wake up and you're thinner. It doesn't work that way. And when you're very, very big, it's tough to get out. It's tough. It might take years. It might take, 2 years, sometimes 3 years to get out of supermorbid obesity with weight loss and gain and weight loss and gain, because you're in such a difficult hormonal place when you're there. It's hard. And the older you are, it's hard. It's very difficult. So it does not apply. There is no easy coming out of supermorbid obesity. The only thing that's easier is if you're not that big. So it's easier to lose 30 pounds than it is to lose 200. That's the only thing. And again, it just doesn't compare. It's not a good comparison or a good metaphor to coming out. The connection just doesn't exist. It's something that exists on a scale. How big were you? The bigger you are, the harder it is. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's very, very hard. That's all. Stupid.
There's nothing inherently noble or moral about suffering. It's just a bad thing that happens.
Well, and also,
yeah, well, I think that the relationship that fat acceptance has to suffering, I think that that speaks a lot to the problem, you know, because they view all forms of suffering as bad. Is it bad to feel sore after going to the gym? Because I do feel like I'm suffering a lot from soreness. I hate it, you know, especially sometimes it's just so bad. Like when I go up in weight, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so sore. You know, and I like hate it. I really hate it. I've never understood people who are like, oh my gosh, I love feeling sore. It's like amazing. It's so great. I don't like it. I hate it. Like my back is sore because I had to take a break from the gym. I told you guys when I was working all that around Halloween, I didn't go to the gym for like a week or so. And I worked everything out and I'm active enough where most of my muscles stay strong or they don't have as much of an issue. Like my legs and my arms and stuff were fine, but my upper back, I lost a ton of muscle from not going because I don't use these muscles that much in day-to-day life. So they're really sore. Is that bad though, Matt? That's bad that I'm suffering with soreness in my back? Is it bad that I dealt with weight loss side effects similar to people who are on Ozempic? I even had mental health side effects from it last year, similar to people who are taking Ozempic, because I don't think it's always Ozempic that's the symptom causer. I think some of it is the actual weight loss. Is that bad? No, it saved my life. I'm in such a better place now. Sometimes we have to suffer to get to a better place. That's all. And if you're not willing to, and you always have to be coddled in every single situation all the time, then you're not going to grow. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to stagnate and eventually fall apart because regardless, especially in terms of obesity, the suffering will come for you. It always does. And I always described it this way, and I described it this way a lot in 2023, where I said, your health is fine until it isn't. It's good enough until it totally collapses. And these fat acceptance girly pops, even Aubrey herself, they don't understand what's coming. I know it hits a male body faster. It does, because the high estrogen and all these hormones and all this stuff, it's more caustic and more harsh to a male body. But it's still going to hit women too. It just might take longer. It might take late in the 40s or something. But like I said, you chug along as a woman and it's the same thing. Your health falls out from beneath you. It's like the floor falls from beneath you. It's very fast. It's fine, and then it's not fine, and it's like, holy shit, this is scary. That's how it is, pretty much every time. Because you're usually suffering and kind of chugging along, and you're just kind of ignoring a lot of symptoms and a lot of things that are happening with the obesity. And then you just have this oh shit moment. And for me, I had the oh shit moment when I was 28. And I was like, oh my God. My health just completely took a shit at that time. And it was so fast. And I was like, oh my God. And I had to like snap out of the toxic ritualistic to save my life because my health was so terrible, so fast. So again, I do think it hits men faster. I think that's why a lot of men die earlier from obesity and stuff like that. But it still hits women too. It does. So I'm just saying, it's rough. It's very, very rough. And it's suffering. So I don't know. The logic isn't logicking for me. from that. Like, there is suffering in being obese too. So sometimes you can't choose not to suffer. You have to choose what kind you're going to have. I'd rather have a sore back than feel the way I did in 2020. Any day.
Listen, just to cast the cultural memory back a little bit, the discourse that we're having about Ozempic right now is almost indistinguishable from the discourse that we had around weight loss surgery and gastric sleeves and gastric bands in the sort of early to mid 2000s, right? Star Jones, who was a personality on The View, was hounded about how she lost weight or whether or not she was like the cover of tabloids for like months.
That's true.
And months and months of people just speculating on like, did she have surgery or did she?
Yeah, because there is also fat acceptance in culture. And there was, I told you guys, in the 2000s, where there's this idea that if you are super morbidly obese, it is impossible to lose enough weight to not be obese anymore. And I'm almost there. You guys. Are you ready? Are you ready for me to break Aubrey's rule? Are you ready for me to destroy the science that says a super morbidly obese person cannot not be obese anymore naturally? You ready for that to happen? Because we're getting there. We're getting real close. Real close. As of tonight, I'm 32% body fat. I have to get to 29.9 and I'm not obese anymore. And I started at 55. It's not possible. Certainly isn't possible according to Aubrey. I remember her saying that. Oh yeah, the studies show that people who are really, really big, they're likely always going to be obese in one way, shape, or form. Okay, Aubrey. I'm gonna make you eat those words very soon. Because I'm almost not. But anyways, it's that belief that, oh, it's not possible, that it must be surgery, it must be a medication, it must be this, it must be that. And it's the same issue that I have with it because it's a fat acceptance construct. But anyways, you guys, I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here for this one. We're going to get back to it next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll talk to you guys again next week. Have a good one. See you soon. Bye.